Welcome, viewers. I'm Rich Pava, and today we have another amazing leader from the world of Martech and AI, Mr. Rajesh Jain. He's the managing director of Netcore. Netcore, as a company, is very popular in the country as well as globally. They work extensively in the field of marketing technology and AI. Thank you so much, Mr. Jain, for giving us time.
Pleasure, Bridge.
So, being a leader who has seen the evolution of marketing technology from no tools to now about more than 15,000 tools globally. How have you seen that dynamic change? How would you assess the Martech revolution in India?
So if you just back up a little bit, and what is the problem that really Martech solves? So marketing is about two elements. There is the acquisition side, largely through ad tech platforms like Google, Meta, etc., whose job it is to deliver people, audiences to either websites or apps. And then it is Martech's job to take it over. How do we build customer engagement, retention, actually monetize the customer coming in or the prospect coming in? So if you think about it, marketing's function is really a blend of these two. How do I maximize LTV, lifetime value, from the traffic audience coming in? And how do I keep my CAC low, the customer acquisition CAC low? Because profitability really is a function of the interplay between these two things. Now, I think there's an inflection point right now happening in marketing, of course, because of AI, and I'm sure we'll discuss that. But if you look at the real problems today, which brands face, and which is what Martech should really be solving, it is about the fact that 90% of the marketing budgets end up being spent on customer acquisition. And the real problem is 70 out of the 90, from my estimates, are customers which a brand already had. So this is what I call ad waste. That because you did not use Martech well to build that customer engagement, customer relationship, you are dependent on spending money again and again for monetizing that same customer.
Same customer.
So that's the real problem, because that leads to an impact on the EBITDA finally, on the profitability of a brand. If you think about it, basically, what I like to say is that brands end up paying 20 to 30% of their revenue on as taxes, and they are paying taxes to on three things right now. Number one is, of course, what we just spoke about, the ad tech platforms for reacquiring. New acquisition is great, but reacquiring the same customer, not done. The second is, of course, marketplaces. While they get revenue, they don't get any further information, not able to get first party data to build the relationship going forward. And the third is discounts to customers who they have lost. Then you're paying again to get the customer back. And I think in the future, they're going to be paying the AI platforms, the LLMs, the chat bots, the chat interfaces, chat GPT, Perplexity in the future, etc., to bring customers back. So really, if brands have to become profitable, the number one thing which has to happen, it's not about the tools, but it's about the mindset. I should be acquiring a customer only once and then using Martech to build that lifetime engagement so I can maximize lifetime value through, of course, purchases, also referrals. Good customers will refer others. So that's really the challenge which Martech faces. And I think this is where AI is going to come in and make a huge difference going forward.
No, I think the challenge is also, particularly increasing, as various platforms start banning third-party data. You know, Google had already said that, has been saying that since a couple of years now. Eventually, they did not do it for various reasons. But how are brands shifting to first-party data? Can you share some examples, with us? So we were discussing it with other speakers as well, wherein they were saying that, brands who are in the FMCG, CPG categories it's very difficult for them to get first-party data because the products move through, retail outlets.
Yes.
How can brands, specifically the ones in CPG and FMCG, can get first-hand data going forward?
So if we just look at two parts to it, and I'll come to FMCG in a minute, but There are two identities which every customer has today, digital identities. Okay, there's a mobile number and there's an email address. And my one advice to marketers is collect both these identities. Okay, because sometimes most brands now, many brands have stopped collecting email address. So what happens is if you only have a mobile number, how do you push out messages to them? It's very expensive to push out messages to them because whether you look at WhatsApp or SMS or RCS, there's a significant cost which is there. The WhatsApp cost, of course, is increasing. Delivery rates are dropping because WhatsApp wants to maintain the sanctity of the inbox as a P2P channel. So that's very important. Now, the way I think CPG and FMCG brand should be looking is how do you essentially create value? Can there be a value exchange by which customers basically engage with the brand on a regular basis? There's a very good book by Byron Sharp which came out about probably 7-8 years ago, How Brands Grow. And one of the key points in the book is really that what marketers or brands need to look at is how do they get physical availability and mental salience? How do you get top of mind recall? Now, top of mind recall really means that can I build the equivalent of a sort of brand daily, a Unilever, a HUL daily, or a Big Basket daily, or a Motilal Oswal daily, whatever it is? How do you get those 15 to 60 seconds? Now, for that, if you're adding value, if you're giving something which the end customer wants, they will absolutely be open to sharing their identity, one of these two identities with an opt-in. So you have the right of way to talk to the customer. And that is very important because, see, at the end of the day, it's not just your best customers. So if I have this framework called best, rest, test, next, 20% customers are the most loyal customers, they are the best. Then you have the sort of lapsing customers, the next maybe 40% who may go here or there. They will generate maybe 30% of revenue. Then you have the lost customers. Okay, they're gone, one and done. Many brands have 60-65% are one and done. They buy once, never again. And then you have the sort of leads, the new next customers. So I think it's very important for them to build these engagement hotlines for which you need identity, you need permission. And there's a lot of value which every brand can send. I mean, FMCG brands have got products, but the products basically are solving real problems for people. So Hindustan Unilever, for example, for their skin creams, etc. Give me skin tips. Give your customers how they can have a healthier life, a better life, all of those things. But today they are not collecting this data. So then the reliance is entirely on the intermediary channel. And then it comes down to who's giving maybe a better deal, better discount. How do you build brand in the digital world? These are all challenges which I think can only be countered by getting direct first party data and getting zero party data, which is the preferences, what customers tell you what they want in their life, what is the job they're trying to get done in their life with the brand. This is, I think, very critical to do.
The other conversation is around marketing ROI. There was a time when, the top management wouldn't ask a marketer if the results that they were getting. In fact, the value of results that they were getting. But I think times have changed, and especially with the advent of marketing technology, getting ROI has become, if not very easy, but easier than before. Yet a lot of marketers that we talk about still say that, even if there's a huge intervention of technology, getting the right ROI has been very difficult. How, considering you are working with different brands, how do you help them manage it?
See, the problem in marketing has really become that ROI has become ROAS, return on ad spend, because 90% of the budget is getting spent on ad tech and acquisition and reacquisition, etc. I think this mindset has to change because Martech done right can really deliver ROI. And what I mean by ROI is that a marketer must think profitability. Most marketers only think of growth. And when it comes to growth, basically the easiest is spend money on ad tech platforms, etc., and you will get top line growth. The single biggest change I think in marketing which needs to happen is the CMO needs to think of himself or herself as the chief AI and profits officer of the company. CFO looks at costs, CEO looks at forward multiple things. Who is responsible for growth and profitability? That is really what the marketers, owners should become in the new age. And now AI will really help them on this journey. I mean, one of the
Hmm.
things I ask when I get asked is, why aren't there more CMOs who become CEOs of companies? And the real thing is that you have to think profitability and not just growth. This blend, along with AI, actually is, I think, the transformation that marketers have to look at doing.
Hmm. We have been hearing conversations around, agentic AI, and how it is kind of solving problems. Uh, what are your thoughts on it? It's still a very new concept for a lot of marketers. We talk to them. A lot of them still don't have the real idea of what sort of things, it can do. uh, I want to just assess your thoughts on it as a starting inflection point as to where can it take us in the future, where can it take marketers in the future, how can it help, because it will be helping both the customers as well as the marketers. Customers to
Absolutely.
take decisions, and I think there will be a time when the brands directly won't be interacting with the customer. They'll be probably interacting with the agentic AI. Then there will be a time when the brand itself won't be talking to the agentic AI. It will be the agentic AI of the brand talking to the
Absolutely.
agentic AI of the customer. So how do you assess that this whole situation?
Yeah. So the way to think about this is that AI, let's just start with AI. How does AI help marketers? And I think the way to look at the framework for AI is in two ways. The first is what I call the efficiency play. So, what are the things which it can help me do faster, better, cheaper?
Hmm.
And that's the world of generative AI that we've already seen: content creation, some planning in campaigns, etc. All of that is already happening. Um, but the way the agentic play will happen is it will basically help marketers do what I call the impossibility play. For example, today a brand may have, say, 10 million customers. On the Martech side, the marketing team, the Martech team, can basically create maybe 8 to 10 segments, because for every segment you need to create content every day, have campaigns every day, and this is
Hmm.
humanly impossible to actually do all of this. But this is where a marketing department with agents can create maybe 10,000 campaigns, and content for each one of these every day. That's an impossibility play. That's a problem which humans cannot solve. And the way the Martech side now starts generating or starts essentially delivering what you said earlier, ROI, is instead of sending messages which are not relevant to us. See, why do we stop interacting with brands? The things, it's not as much the product, because many times we have bought once, but the messages that we get are not relevant for us. The personalization is not possible at scale as of now. What these multi-agent and of course the single agent and multi-agent systems will do is solve the most important problem, which is how do I get n equals 1 personalization. Now, saying, okay, these are men in the age 25 to 34 is not the solution. A bridge is different from a Rajesh, who's different from a Sandeep. They may be in the same age bracket, but very different people. And this is where I think there are a couple of very interesting ideas, which I think will be very transformative going forward. And this is where I see the future of agentic AI. The first is multi agent systems, which will make the marketing operations efficient. So it's not just a single agent, but multiple agents working together. You can actually have a department of one. So CMO is there. CMO basically gives the instructions. Today, what we are seeing with many different vibe coding platforms, for example, I give the instructions and then the agents take over. So that's the first track. The second track is for a segment of one. And this is where the idea that I think is going to come is what I call the brand twin. So every customer should have a twin, but which is controlled by the brand. Exactly building on what you said earlier, is that today a customer should be able to talk in natural language, interface with the brand through the brand twin. And the brand twin is built on the individual customer data plus category information plus what's happening outside plus real world data. In a way, we are different people through the day. Morning we are different, evening we are different. If it's raining, if there are events happening, so it's a segment of almost 0.1 if you think of it that way. We are multiple sort of personalities in the same person. That is what these agents will be able to do. So the twin factory, agents will basically create a twin factory. So think of every twin as an agent, pretty much building on what you said earlier. Of course, the customer also will have an agent. That's a say, I have multiple agents. But this is the brand creating the interface for a person to interact with the brand through this sort of doppelganger, if you think of it that way, a mirror image of myself, which is always 24 by 7 on, looking for what I want, but it represents not just the brand interest, but also my customer interest. So the other.
What you're talking about sounds very, very futuristic. How far do you think are we from that? Because you're
Yeah,
essentially saying that the brand will have, let's say one representative for each customer,
yeah,
right? That means if a brand has about million customers, a million agents,
absolutely.
who are the mirror images of the customers. So how far are we from that?
See, the way AI is progressing, okay, I think we'll start seeing these twin factories within the next 12 months. See, think about, I give this example. Telecom saw 30 years mobile networks to get to 5 generations. We are not yet 3 years into ChatGPT and we are seeing the fifth sort of version of ChatGPT. Okay, that's the pace of change. The pace of innovation plus the costs falling, all of this, inferencing improving dramatically, all of this. See, because look at it from an end customer point of view. What do we want? We want, ideally, when in the physical world, what happens? You walk into a store, the salesperson there understands you very quickly. Okay? From the questions you are asking, from the way you are interacting, in some cases, the history that you have. And that's the real power of sales. Here, your twin, in a way, will have sort of all of the data, plus what other people like you are doing, plus through chats, figuring out what you want going forward. And my belief is that this brand twin will lead to what I call the twin ledger. See, eventually, the profitability of a brand is the profitability of every single customer. That's it. As simple as that. So there should be a ledger, a debit credit for every customer. Here is what it took to acquire Rajesh. Here is how much I spent on the ad tech marketplaces. Here is what I'm spending servicing him, maybe through the agent. Here is what Rajesh now became inactive, dormant, churn. Here's what I spent acquiring Rajesh back. And on the other side are the revenues that Rajesh has generated, the margins of the products which have been sold. Rajesh maybe did a couple of referrals. So those are also added to his credit. So think of it that way. This is really the future that's coming. Because today, the single most important question we have to ask is, why is $500 billion being wasted on reacquiring customers again and again? It's because brands are not able to build these one-to-one relationships. Agentic AI is the only way to really drive sustainable, systematic, exponential, profitable growth. And it's basically will give, in what hedge fund terms, it's called the alpha in a business. You have, I call it sort of, there's the beta, which is the baseline. But the alpha is what everyone shift from selling on inputs, number of messages sent, monthly active users, to pricing on the alpha that they generate. Exactly what you had said earlier, the ROI that is created. So it's what I call alpha beta carry. Alpha on the beta, and the Martech firms now become partners in business. They get a percentage of the alpha that they've created. That's the way it should be. The outcomes matter more than the inputs.
There's this another issue which grapples a lot of marketers, which is that while there's a lot of data which is coming in,
Yeah.
it's still very difficult to finalize it. And while you have already said that because once the mirror agents of a customer starts happening, that would mean that the data is already funneling to the right place, right? Which that the thing that you're talking about won't happen if we don't get the data sorted out.
Yes.
But there's another big issue is that currently a lot of brands don't have their data sorted out. And I use this example quite often. There was, I was surfing Instagram once. Between my stories, I get an ad from Suzuki, and then after four more stories, I get an ad from BMW. Now, either of one of the two companies is wrong, right?
Correct.
That means either of the two companies don't have their data figured out. So how do you solve this problem? Because there's a lot of data which is coming in,
Yeah.
and as you rightly said, the customer psychology is different at different points in time. But there are clear distinctions. Either I am a 5 lakh, I'm a spender of 5 lakhs for a car, or I'm a spender of 50 lakhs for a car. And a lot of brands still haven't been able to manage. So how is Netcore helping them? Are there any products that you are using? And or in a general perspective also, how do you see this data problem getting solved?
See, to solve the data problem, and there are two, three things. One of the biggest challenges today is that the data basically gets siloed in companies, many companies. So there are different custodians of data who do
Hmm.
not like to share data within themselves. So the first is really what you need is what I call, like, there is an LLM. Every brand needs to create a small customer model or a large customer model, however you look at it, an LCM equivalent, where all the data is pooled in together. We call it a CDP, of course, but I'm giving it a little more. The next generation CDP will not just be passive, but be very active, because that's where you want the twins to be built on. You have to build the twins on this data layer.
Hmm.
And it's not just the Martech data. Your customers, a brand's customers, also have lives outside of the brand website and the app. They are searching. They are discussing on social media. They're impacted by events. If there's a Taylor Swift concert, you'll suddenly see some products basically rising. If it's raining and all of that stuff, there are vertical or category insights which are there.
Hmm.
All of this have to come together to create this large customer model for every brand. That is the future. Once you have that, then you have to basically you start building the brand twins. I think if you look at the vision for the future, the data layer is the most critical. And then how Martech companies have to think is, for the agentic AI future, it has to be a panel-less future. Eliminate panels and dashboards. A marketer should be able to interact in natural language with the data that's there. Ask whatever. So tell me what happened yesterday. Tell me what I should change for today. Not just go through layers of dashboards which are sort of there. A customer should be able to do the same thing. I mean, I was giving this example recently. You can you cannot talk in natural language to a Netflix or an Apple TV. Okay, so they know the shows that you're watching. Many of the recommendations, sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're not good. What do I watch next? But if you go and put what you watched on Apple TV or Netflix, the last 5 6 shows into Chat GPT, it'll actually give you better recommendations on what to watch next.
True.
We are just so much more comfortable with the natural language, and it's not just typing, it's also voice, just talking, like the way we are doing right now. So I think this is where the future has to be. And you're absolutely correct that the first thing that every company has to do is to unify the database. So for me, I talk about the foundation. There's identity and unity in the data. Identity is two pieces of information about every person, so you have the way to reach them. You don't have to wait for them to come all the time. And the second is unify the data. And the third element, which becomes a core foundation, is now once you have this, segment customers not by demographics, but on forward looking lifetime value. Best, rest, test, next.
Hmm.
Once you have this in place, then it becomes possible to create different strategies. Your loyal customers versus your lapsed customers versus your lost customers. Now you can create different strategies, and that's where the brand twins start to come in. And these brand twins may not be one to one upfront, but they'll keep becoming better every day with every
Yeah.
action that the customer is doing.
True. I know we have a half an hour window slated for this interview, but just if you allow,
I
I'll
can go ahead a few moments, absolutely.
couple of more questions. While we are, uh, I want I want to take another strand of thought. While we are taking in a lot of data, um, with the activation of DPDP in India and GDPR globally, a lot of while anyway it is very difficult to get first party data, these laws might make it more difficult, um, and 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 rightly so. I mean, a customer wouldn't want a lot of things about them to be talked about, and we are moving towards a stage where agentic AIs will know everything about the customer. So how do we draw the line? uh, you know how do you capture, store, activate that consent data, especially at a granular level, uh, to for campaigns?
Yeah. So the way we have to think on data is that the best data is actually what is called zero party data. It's data that we share voluntarily with brands because we are getting something back, our
Hmm.
inputs, etc. So they don't have to sit and derive based just on our behavior. But
Hmm.
it's a value exchange. Give me micro incentives, what I call atomic rewards, for things that I share voluntarily. If brands can focus on zero and first party data, there is no data problem in the world. The problem happens with third party data. So the every touch point, every email sent, every sort of WhatsApp sent, can I ask a couple of questions to people, to my customers? Hey, if you're interested in travel, so if it's, let's say, a make my trip, what if I could in every email show two images, hot or not, hill stations or beaches? What do you prefer? No one is doing that today. Every transactional mail sent is an option to actually capture zero party data, which helps you in personalization. So the
Hmm.
dependency then on third party data, etc., all goes down. Because at the end of the day, remember, what are we all seeking? We are different people. We want personalized experiences. And that is really the greatest opportunity today with agentic AI. Earlier, you could only do so much with human intervention and maybe some software, etc. I mean, marketers of tomorrow will be vibe coding. They are not going to rely on the software, on the engineering team. I
Hmm.
want something, like a Quinn code or something like this. I just tell what I want. It will write the code and will give me the answers that I'm seeking. And this is really, 24 by 7 on marketing, because the customer is sort of out there all the time. Customers are out there. How do you now reimagine marketing? It's not just about AI first, AI native.
Hmm.
How do you reinvent your business with some of the things that we've spoken about?
Hmm.
And it's, I think, a great inflection point. Okay, because the businesses which leverage the full power of AI for building these personalized experiences through the twin factory, brand twins, etc., we spoke about, I think we'll get a disproportionate advantage going forward. Okay, and it basically what I call a profit poly. This is the moment in time to create a profits monopoly. I keep saying this, that when you lose a customer, you're effectively, there are three problems. First, you've lost lifetime value of that customer, not just a single transaction. Okay. Second, you're incurring a cost to bring that customer back again, because that is the bulk of the marketing spend which is there. And the third, you are giving oxygen to a competitor, because that customer is going to buy from somewhere else. It's a triple whammy. And this is what agentic marketing actually can help solve for marketers who are forward looking, who are AI first, and who think not just growth but profitability.
Hmm. No, given us quite a lot to think about. I remember doing an interview with Luke Julia, who's the creator of Siri, and he talked about how LLMs will fail, over time, and will be taken over by SLMs. Uh, Perhaps SLMs will be taken over by agentic AI. So, we are moving from larger models to then smaller, then even smaller models now, which are very, very customer specific. You are now saying that, we'll go to a customer mirroring model, which is a customer doppelganger. Do you think this is the future, or we are seeing another future evolve for AI and marketing technology in the future?
If you think it backwards, see what's the job in a business? I've got to make money.
Hmm.
I make money, every brand makes money from its customers. What gets lost is they look at a P&L at an aggregate basis. Once we realize that there are individual customers making decisions, and in economics, there is this principle called methodological individualism, that the unit of analysis must be a single customer, it's not collectives. I think everything will start changing to the P&L for a single individual. Recommendations for n equals 1 for a single person may not happen right away, but that should be the goal. And on the acquisition side, it's what I call UNA, only once, never again. Acquire a customer only once, never pay again to reacquire that customer. That is the secret of profitability for a brand. Otherwise, in many brands, what you see is marketing growth or spends on advertising and marketing is faster than revenue growth, and that is not sustainable.
Not sustainable. Um, yeah, I think the conversation needs to have a strike a balance between intelligence, speed, and measurable business impact.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we have to go to that foundation. We are all working towards the value that we can generate. Thank you so much, Mr. Jain, for giving us your time and those insights. We would love to speak to you about them in the future as well, and see where the market takes us 4 5 months from now, because it's extremely dynamic. What we were discussing about 4 5 months ago isn't, when we launched on 5th of June, Agentic AI was still not a term which people were using, and today I think the whole conversation is around AI agents. So thank you again for your time, and Anupama, why don't we send an invite for Mr. Jain to speak at the summit as well? I would love for you to come there.
Sure, Bridge.
Okay.
And Anupama, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.